Hello, lovelies! I am the Fragnostic, and here we are, smack bang in the middle of another Monday that God hasn't yet deemed fit to wipe us all from the face of like the shameful leavings of a boredom wank in a hospital toilet. What, 2 hours for a blood test? Well, it's hardly fucking Disney World in here, is it? Which can only mean two things. That either the atrocious state of the current world pleases him, or he simply doesn't care, not sure which is more existentially upsetting, and that I am bound by the laws of this land to deliver unto you another Retro Rumble, your glorious, nostalgic sunray through the black cloud of another week's beginning, to a simpler time when you could play a game without being constantly harassed to buy skin for your assault rifle like you've wandered past Ed Gein's garage sale. This week, we're trying to politely ignore the stench of old man Kruger's overworn stripy jumper as we doth tangle with A Nightmare on Elm Street for the NES, released in October 1990, the very same month that Jeff Goldblum and Gina Davis filed for divorce. Coincidence? Coincidence, you say? How many more fairy tale celebrity marriages torn asunder must I link to LJN to convince you? But hold on a minute there, folks. Hold your whinnying bastard horses, because God bless the angry video game nerd and all of the foul-mouthed joy he brought me in my youth. Lord shower him with gifts. But I fear he has spread something of a culture of misunderstanding over LJN's role in the, shall we say, questionable quality of many of their games. Because while it was ultimately their decision to publish them, because that's what they were, a publishing company, LJN never actually developed even one single title in-house. Not one. This, for example, this is Rare's fault. That's right, Rare, Donkey Kong Country, Banjo-Kazooie, Killer Instinct, Perfect Dark, GoldenEye, Conker's Bad Fur Day. They did this to you. Where is your god now? You want to know another secret? They made that fuck-awful Who Framed Roger Rabbit game for the NES as well. Oh yes, they did. No, fraggers, enough, it can't be. They did Beetlejuice too, and Super Glove Ball. That's not true. That's impossible. Search your feelings, in Wikipedia if you like. You know it to be true. That's right, Luke. I am your fucking father, and Rare are responsible for Who Framed Roger Rabbit. Life sucks. Well, I guess I'm about to tell you how this damn thing actually works, besides the fairly routine side-scroll reaction you can see here. We're at our first boss fight right now, which is Freddy's glove on a load of balls. What is that? 8 balls? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, Freddy's hand on 8 balls. What? That's 4 dudes. God damn, Freddy. Thirsty much? So the idea here is that you're running around on Elm Street, dodging enemies, and shit falling out the sky, looking for buildings and locations to enter. Now, there's only one open at any one time. They become accessible to you sequentially after you've beaten a house or cemetery or whatever. But fall on you if you think it's a simple matter of moving in one direction down the road, heading into stages one after the other. No, you gotta run around, up and down, all over the fucking place, trying to find out which one's gonna let you in next. And just to grind its heel into your balls just a little bit more, Nightmare on Elm Street chooses to signal sometimes which houses are available to you by having their doors closed rather than open. You see an open door? Fuck off, we're closed! Locked up tight? Well, come right the motherfuck in, man! What are you lurking around just staring at my door, you creepy little son of a bitch? Get in here. Pick yourself some damn bones up. Plenty to go around. Because that's essentially what the goal is here. Basically, I don't know what's happened. Freddy Krueger has exploded with enough force to send his entire skeletal structure flying off in so many different directions that if you plotted the trajectory lines on a map, you'd essentially have the conquest route of the fucking Roman Empire. And now you have to go around and pick every single one of the bloody things up. You see up the top, you have a bone collection meter there. And to be let out of a stage or trigger the boss fight, you gotta find them all and then move to the end. Boss fight number 2, essentially the same as the first, except this time you're fighting Freddy's head on a stack of balls, and he's spitting his tongue at you. He's got more than one, apparently. Sure sign of a child molester. Because let's not forget, that's what he is. You're playing an NES game where you fight an undead paedophile. I mean, it was nearly that much worse. There was, at the very least, a beta version made under the title A Nightmare on Elm Street where you played as an undead paedophile. The original plan for this game was to have you control Freddy himself, while the central plot concept remained pretty much the same. Bunch of teens running around trying to find Freddy's bones. you'd actually be stalking around, traversing the dream world, murdering the shit out of them, taking on different forms and powers. I mean, that sounds awesome, doesn't it? That sounds more like the kind of incredibly ambitious experience that we know and love Rare for. Unfortunately, that got its plug pulled within about a year of development without any sort of official explanation, but one would speculate that either Nintendo saw the handful of promotional images that were released for that version and said, "Fuck no you don't," and told LJN to change it, or could have been a purely financial decision based on the fact that overly morbid or strongly horror-themed games just weren't doing business. Not so much because people didn't want them, but because they weren't being exposed to them by way of retailers and shop owners refusing to stock them at all. Much like the entire sorry debacle with the Texas Chainsaw Massacre game on the Atari 2600. I mean, it affected the little guys too, like Palace Software, who brought out the first Evil Dead game for the Commodore 64 way back in the day, was simultaneously working on an adaptation for Halloween, the famous John Carpenter stab-a-thon that everybody quotes as the first ever slasher movie, which is a ludicrous overgeneralization, and even if you wanted to work on purely overgeneralized terms, both Black Christmas and A Bay of Blood came way before Halloween, but whatever, backing out of that sidetrack now, and they put the nix on that one out of fear that it wouldn't sell, turning it into a sort of paper and paste shooter called Cauldron. And you might think that's odd considering that The Evil Dead is arguably a far more explicit and twisted movie than Halloween. Like, to my knowledge, there's no scene in any cut of Halloween where Jamie Lee Curtis gets raped by a tree, but I guess the key difference there is that in the Evil Dead game you're playing as Ash rather than a Deadite or, you know, a rapey Pine or a sexual assault Oak. And that attitude really killed off a lot of what was burgeoning in the very early horror gaming scene. Palace originally wanted to just be making movie-based titles, mostly horror, until they ran up against the great moral roadblock that was Mary Whitehouse and the video Nasty's Panic over here in Britain. You got the glove again for your third boss here, but this time around, it's wriggled free from its nest of gonads and bounces around the screen trying to bro-fist you. This is about the point in the game where it's just easier for everybody if you stick with a ninja. I haven't explained any of that yet because I'm awful at commentating stuff, awful at my job. Why are you giving me money on Patreon to make this garbage, you wonderfully kind but ultimately deeply confusing people? But I promise, I'll let you know what's up with all that in a second. You might wonder how his hand can attack me without any of its bones in it, but look, that's why it can spring around so easily. It's just jelly in a glove. They thought of everything, didn't they? Good old Rare. Watch out coming out of houses though. They aren't afraid to try and bullshit you out of some health by spawning a salvo of bats 3 feet away from you. But Color Dreams, legendary developers of unlicensed shite for the NES, dropped about 50 grand on a Hellraiser game that never got finished. They ran pre-release adverts for it and everything. Although I guess that one wasn't as much to do with public ethical repulsion as it was the fact that development was a nightmare from start to finish. They were the company that released the notorious Super Noah's Ark 3D that ran on the Wolfenstein 3D engine. Well, Wisdom Tree did, but they were formed out of Color Dreams. But it's a little known fact that the entire reason they licensed that engine out in the first place was so that they could make their Hellraiser game out of it. Now in the end, the whole thing was too ambitious and expensive to work with anyway. Nintendo would never have approved it, nobody would have sold it, and even if they had, Color Dreams had to create and manufacture an entirely new type of cartridge to be able to run the game anyway, so production costs alone would have run them out of business. But Jesus Christ, let's talk about this game for a bit now, shall we? Here we are in the Junkyard, the first of 3 locales that isn't set inside a mansion with a floor space that realistically needs a diesel jeep to ferry you from room to room. And if you turn your attention to the top of the screen, either side of the helpful A Nightmare on Elm Street logo that reminds you what you're playing just in case you suddenly have a stroke, come to and want some goddamned answers, you'll see 4 sets of player stats. And yet, only one of them appears to be doing anything. Oh, cruel and bewildering game! Where do your riddles end? Well, you can actually have up to 4 players on screen simultaneously grinding through this fucking nightmare at once here. 4. God damn it, won't you just be the coolest kid on the block?
Hey gang, wanna come over to my house after school and play A Nightmare on Elm Street with me?
No. And which one of us, you dumb bastard? The NES is 2-player. Every fucking retard knows that.
Not so, chums. Not with the NES Satellite. Now we can play all of our favourite games together. No waiting for turnsies.
Wow, that actually sounds pretty cool. Junk that bullshit Nightmare on Elm Street out for Super Mario and I might actually be able to tolerate the smell of your dad's drinking problem.
Well, Super Mario doesn't actually work with the satellite.
What about Contra?
No,
Mega Man?
afraid not.
So, when you say all our favourite games, you're referring to what exactly?
Super Jeopardy?
Super Jeopardy.
Yeah.
You better turn your fat fuck of a face around and start running before I give your mum another funeral to start preparing for.
No, wait! Swords and Serpents?
Are you coming on to me, motherfucker? Oh, son of a bitch, I've missed one. God damn it. Oh. This is the forever real and present danger in A Nightmare on Elm Street. Now you gotta go backwards through all the fucking traps to dig out one bone that's probably gonna be practically invisible next to the scenery. It's just one fucking bone, for Christ's sake. How's Freddy gonna resurrect from that? What's it gonna come back as, a shin? Lord's mercy. Look, there it is. There it is. Is it any wonder I missed that? Fuck almighty. Now you might say that's my fault for running through the game at the speed of light, but let me carry on explaining how A Nightmare on Elm Street works and you'll see why the game heavily encourages you to do exactly that. So, you'll see what looks like a health meter up there underneath my score, and you might be a touch befuddled by the fact that it's only around half full despite me not being hit yet. That's because it's not a health meter, it's a sleep meter, and if it empties the whole way, off to the land of Nod you go, in what is essentially the day-to-night transition mechanic from Castlevania 2 Simon's Quest. And once you're in the dream world, the enemies become stronger, and your life becomes more difficult in general. And we'll come back to that in a minute after we put an end to the fourth boss, which is some sort of bat with Freddy's face. Both this one and the next boss spawn these aggravating mini-enemies from the dream world to get in your way, and it's prudent not to stay too close because they have a nasty habit of just giving birth to them right on top of your head. Go on, fuck off. What makes every boss fight in this game a cakewalk is that you can hit them just before they touch you, and their invincibility frames will have them pass straight through you so you can get away with just hiding in the corner for the most part. God damn it, don't you hate it when you're walking down the street and you're stuck behind an enormous carnivorous snake? Come on, move! Got shit to do. Gotta go and steal bones out of cemetery. Good thing you guys ate all the police. I'd hate to have to try and explain that. Alright, so regarding the dream world, you can keep yourself awake by finding coffee power-ups that completely refill your sleep meter, or finishing a stage which does exactly the same, but there are a number of things that make you want to take a nap in this game. Just generally running around makes the meter drop. Standing still actually makes it go down way faster, so there you have the exact reason you can't just stop and look around for bones as you go to make sure you haven't missed any. Getting hit by an enemy sends you to sleep. Like, the sensation of physical pain makes your character relaxed enough to want to take a nap. That's the kind of hard bastard teenager you're in charge of here. Teenagers are fucking terrifying nowadays, especially the ones brought up in this gym rat gains culture. Do you have them in your town? Like 17-year-olds the size of fucking hatchbacks stalking the streets? You just punch your skeleton out your body if the mood took them. The only real advantage I've got over him is that because I'm not 5'11" and weigh 19.5 stone, I'm much faster than they are, so all you really have to do to defeat one is run 30 meters down the street and listen for the sound of their heart exploding from steroid abuse behind you. Either that, or they'll knock themselves out tripping over their own shoelaces that they're too fucking swole to bend down and tie. Don't you worry, I have a combat plan for everyone, just in case. There's a lovely old lady that serves me down the shops near my house. Wonderful, warm woman. Always has a kind word and a smile for my kids. But if she ever turned and went for me, she wouldn't know what the fuck just hit her, I promise you. Boss 5, and it's a Freddy ghost. Woo! Freddy ghost gonna get you. Back in Spoopy. He looks fucking ridiculous. Just his head that's the ghost, so looks like he's possessed a hanky. Lord knows what third-rate excuses for teenagers Freddy's been reduced to stalking that he's found one with a phobia of tissues. That's a special cases ward he's haunting there. Elm Street went and bought itself a new tard hatch. Fuck it, I'm gonna start kicking everything now, it's just taking too damn long. Best move in the game. You're utterly invincible so long as you don't let anything touch you from above. Eye line and below, they're getting fucked up. Karate kicking ghosts to death. If there was ever a sentence that summed up the whole Japanese horror remake craze we had from The Ring onwards. So, why can't you be the ninja through the whole game? Well, because the one advantage to being in the dream world is that you can transform into one of 3 different warrior forms. The ninja-esque Shadow Warrior being the best, the knife-throwing Acrobat that I showed you on the first two bosses coming in second, and the Necromancer, which I will show you before the game is through, being the most useless, but you can only use them once you're asleep, and you have to collect icons to use them while you're awake. You might have noticed me grabbing those little grey boxes with the yin-yang symbol, the running stick man and the wizard hat. But why they called him the Necromancer, I just couldn't fucking tell you. Like the other two, he's modelled after one of the kids from A Nightmare on Elm Street Part 3, which was the last decent one. Actually, my bad, the martial artist comes from the fourth movie, The Dream Master, which was dog shit, don't ever watch it. Freddy gets resurrected by a dog pissing on his grave, which is both pathetic and the most appropriate visual representation that you're going to get of the franchise from that point on. Anyway, the kid in the third movie is a Dungeons & Dragons nerd, so they turn him into a wizard. I think he manages to blow precisely one wheelchair up before Freddy guts him, but he is a wizard, not a necromancer. Do they know what a necromancer is? Look at the state of this fucking place. Why would I want to raise more dead people? Maybe that's why he's so useless. Who says everything in a video game has to be useful? I bet he's a great necromancer. He just shit out of luck that the situation in no way calls for it. Now, don't make the mistake of thinking that your sleep meter is in any way, shape or form tied to your health meter, because it's not. Then which one's your health meter, you might reasonably ask, curiously scanning the chunky status bar at the top of the screen. Well, as it turns out, they crammed it full of so much shit that there's no room for a life bar. No room for a fucking life bar. Are you out of your tiny, crayon-chewing mind? I mean, Jesus Christ, that wasn't worth dumping the Nightmare on Elm Street logo that takes up a third of the fucking plaque, therefore. That absolutely had to be there, come hell or high water. You couldn't have just put it bottom left, bottom right, anywhere at all. If it was a one-hit kill situation, yeah, you could have gotten away with it, but nowhere in the game, not even anywhere in the manual, does it ever so much as mention your health meter or how many hits it takes to kill you. And here we are, punching that bat to death was the final straw. That's bored us off to sleep now. There's only so many small mammals you can disintegrate with your fists before it gets tedious, I suppose. So now we find ourselves in the dream world, and it's inevitable that this will happen at least once a game, even if you have a perfect run through, just because there's not enough coffee power-ups to keep you awake in between bosses and locations. You see how I exited that screen there? You have to jump in exactly that spot, exactly there. Straight up, or you're not going anywhere. You can hop around all fucking day, and the game will just keep you there, making you think there's a secret exit that you missed back the way you came. Bullshit. Now, once you're in the dream world, there's only one way to get yourself out, which we'll find just here. Grab the boombox, and you get a rocking tune that will rouse you from your slumber, because the only thing this maniac reacts to is death and metal. Them Elm Street kids ain't right. I thought I was going to fall into the pit right after waking up there. I was about to lose my shit. Well, I guess out of all the tedium that A Nightmare on Elm Street forces you through, like, I feel like I should have a fifth fucking sleep meter up there for myself right now. It's not the worst game ever made. Truthfully, you know, it's perfectly mediocre. It's a competent, completely uninspired platformer. And at least the soundtrack's alright, if not a bit wacky. David Wise to thank for this one, Rare's in-house go-to man for some solid background tunes. Really turned out his best work from around Battletoads onwards, including of course the absolutely magical Donkey Kong Country soundtracks, that for a long time were the only things that would send my baby daughter to sleep. Listen, it's gone all lullaby on us now. That's lovely. That sickening vomity spew of sound effects all clunged up together, not so much. Well, we got all the bones now, let's move out. A Nightmare on Elm Street might have pinched Castlevania 2's day to night mechanic, but it sure didn't go with the body part variations, like when you're collecting Dracula's eyeball, heart, fingernail, etc, etc. Here it's just femurs, forever and ever. Freddy Krueger is just made of hundreds and hundreds of fucking femurs. The stock artist bone. I think my favourite example ever of stock bone syndrome was Mortal Kombat 2 in arcades. With some of the more explosive fatalities you could pull off, like Katana's Kiss of Death or Raiden's Thunder Punch, had your opponent just detonate into a shower of charred femurs, which was fair enough, but there'd also be like 100 rib cages raining down around you too. Not ribs, entire rib cages. That game was fucking weird. Johnny Cage had that fatality where he punched your head off 3 times. Like, off came your head the first time, and then you just punched the space where it used to be, and out come 2 more from thin air. Could have been a hell of a doctor, that man. In fact, fuck you, nobody steal that. It's my new idea for a TV show. Punch Doctor. I haven't ironed out much in the way of a plot yet, seeing as the idea is literally seconds old, but with a name like that, do I really need to? I'll just turn up at a producer's meeting like, gentlemen, 2 words. Punch Doctor.
Did he say punch a doctor? No, he said punch doctor.
Oh my god! I'll see you suckers on my yacht in the Caribbean. But I guess I should finish this first for you. You know, for old time's sake. Look at this fucking cluster of flying rats here. This is the risk you run of not stopping to kill every enemy you come across in this game. Sometimes they will just catch up to you once and roadblock you. I honestly don't know if it's possible to despawn anything in A Nightmare on Elm Street. I've had bats and giant flies pursue me for practically an entire stage before. The game's memory capabilities are aggravatingly impressive. So you dealt with the glove and you dealt with the head. But how will you deal with both? Incredibly easily, as it turns out, because as you can see, the flying kick makes an absolute mockery of anything that dares stand against it. It's almost redundantly simple, and that's one of the bigger problems of the game, in that allowing yourself to slip into the dream world is supposed to be a bad thing here. But why would it be if you can just turn into a near invincible projectile throwing monster demolishing ninja with a move that can decimate everything without fear of any repercussion? And why are these bosses so fucking awful? A giant glove, a head, a bat, a ghost, and now what? The head and the glove again? Fuck almighty, I had 5 movies out by the time this was released. Where's Snake Freddy? Or Giant TV Freddy? Or Puppet Freddy? Oh, God help me, Motorbike Freddy from number 5. Fuck, I would have taken that for a bit of variety. Or that phone that licks Heather Langenkamp in the first film. Alright, done. On to the high school now, final level. My God, Elm Street is the longest street in the world. It's infinite. Everything you could ever need on one long-ass never-ending road. Houses, cemetery, school, junkyard, all stacked up one next to the other. Pedestrian foot traffic must be out of fucking control. Like 1,000 kids coming back from school in one direction, some dude trying to drag his rusty scrap metal to the junkyard in the other, and God help you if you get caught in the middle. Get stampeded to death or flee into oncoming traffic. What the fuck do they fill the rest of Springwood with? It's the worst planned out town ever. That is a very, very painful jump to make there, by the way. You have to be absolutely pixel perfect coming off the edge of it, and I am 99% sure that you're meant to turn into the Necromancer Dream Warrior to cross it, because he has a hovering power that will let you float over gaps. It's that the ceiling's just too low to let you peek at the top of your jump and knocks you down right before you can land on the edge of the platform. The number one thing that bothers me most about this game is really just, is falling asleep really going to be that much worse than staying awake? I mean, you're wide fucking awake right now and your world is filled with, what? Zombies, killer bats, giant spiders, enormous mosquitoes, boulders being shot out of the goddamn sky, water droplets that can crack your skull in half, deadly snakes roaming the neighborhood. You go to school with what looks like a curriculum devised entirely from Professor X's danger room. And you don't even have to be asleep for Freddy to come and get you. You fight him at the end of every stage whether you're asleep or not, so what the fuck? Just how powerful is he now? He's simultaneously dead and not dead, a zombie and a ghost, and can still psychically enter your dreams, so what if when you fall asleep the walking corpses turn into skeletons? Is that really any more fucking unsettling than what you have to deal with when you're awake? At least when you're asleep, you're a ninja. The game's got this shit the wrong way round. You should be smashing the coffee mugs on the ground and breaking into the Elm Street Vets Clinic to grab a couple of 100 tabs of horse tranquilizers to stop yourself from ever waking up. You should be smacking your damn head into a wall to put yourself into a fucking coma. At least you stand a chance, sir. Giant rats! Rats as big as a fucking man, everywhere! Can't learn in this environment. You can't expect me to get my head around this goddamn geometry assignment when there's infinitely spawning bats dive bombing my desk all semester. Look, I'm awake, yeah? I'm awake here. Who is gonna use those fucking lockers? Are you kidding me? Who are the top ones for? King Ghidorah? Jesus Christ. You gotta clamber up a stack of the damn things every time you need to swap your books out. No wonder these Elm Street kids can't keep their eyes open. I'm guessing it was the late change in development, the shutting down of the whole players Freddy Krueger idea that really messed the Nightmare on Elm Street up into the thematic neither here nor there turd stew that you've got here. As I say, mechanically, it's not awful. You gotta believe that Rare had a solid game in the works before it turned into whatever the fuck this is. I mean, before LJN got sold to Acclaim and the quality of their titles improved somewhat, it's not like they were working with hacks. Besides Rare, they used Atlus a whole bunch in the early days. And before Atlus made anything for them, they already had the first Megami Tensei game to their name, so that was fucking awesome. And to go from that from making the Karate Kid was quite a dip in form, you'd have to say. You got that coming as well this month. Oh, the Karate Kid. What a fucking catastrophe. Back before Acclaim bought them, LJN marketed their titles as interactive as well. Interactive video games. That's what used to be emblazoned on the top of the box in gold. That's the kind of shit they do to fool your poor nana when she's out shopping for birthday presents. The Karate Kid? God damn it, Grandma.
It's an interactive video game. It says so in gold.
What is that even supposed to fucking mean? I'm guessing it's a hybrid of interactive, which really is the least you'd expect from any bloody game, and entertaining, which, again, is the most basic selling point for something you're planning to stick in your NES for the weekend, so... It's like marketing food as edible. Well, you can eat it. Ain't got no glass in it or nothing. We double checked. LJN are just making it clear that they're trying to sell you the absolute bottom ladder rung of your forecast for a piece of functioning software, but they're doing it in gold. So it looks like they've done you the fucking favour by taking your money for it. I didn't miss those two bones at the bottom of the stage about a minute back, by the way. I'm going to turn around in just a minute. That's the entrance to Freddy's boiler room, and this level makes you come all the way to the right here, and then head halfway back to escape it. There we go, that's as far as you can get, so we'll get those last two and be able to head straight out now. One thing you will miss, but not really in this playthrough because I'm faster than the average bear, is that if you spend long enough in the dream world, Freddy will come after you. The soundtrack will change to the classic nursery rhyme, you know, 1, 2, Freddy's coming for you, and that basically a countdown to a big splash screen that says, Freddy's coming! Big glowing bastard letters and a little trademark symbol by the Freddy, which really diminishes the fear factor somewhat. Makes it sound like he's coming to sell me a t-shirt or some novelty bubble bath rather than claw my lunch out my abdomen like some sort of feral burnt cat, but... You then get to fight Freddy in a room, you slap him around a bit, and he runs off. And when I say that you haven't really missed anything by not seeing it, it's because he's the final boss and the fight plays out exactly the same way as if you randomly encountered him. Everything about it is the same besides the room you actually fight him in, so honestly, you've not been left wanting for anything that's going to transform this game into anything incredible. There you go, there's the Necromancer. Yeah, let's blast Freddy with corpse reanimating magic. That doesn't go against everything we're trying to accomplish here. I'll keep him for one more fight before I whomp my ninja out. So yeah, if you haven't guessed, just because you loved fighting all the bosses so much the first time around, now you gotta beat them all again, one after the other, before the game will let you have a crack at Freddy. They're not hard, they just take fucking forever to die. And because the 4 after this are pretty much exactly the same boss, which is just shit bouncing around a screen that you have to kick. Your biggest challenge is not getting complacent and throwing away your health because you're getting bored. Here we are, Kung Fu Tommy, that's who we want. Hoo-yah! Whoopah! This is amazing when you have 4 people doing it at the same time. 4 ninjas just dragging, kicking the absolute screaming Christ out of Freddy Krueger. I mean, that is literally the only part of the 4-player experience that will bring you any joy. The rest of it is just one unscripted misery after another because this game is barely designed to have one person on screen at any given time, let alone 4 of you running about, plummeting down pits because one of you is stuck on the left of the screen trying to grab some coffee and the right side won't scroll any further. It is absolute fucking chaos. You remember that part back in the cemetery where you have to hop on the bubble over the water hazard to get up onto the ledge? Try doing that with more than one of you. Fuck me, you should all turn into the acrobat because what a circus that is. But if you can get this far with it, that's your reward. The pure, unfiltered joy of playing as a gang of ninjas just sent to absolutely demolish Freddy Krueger. Just beating him down in the most brutal fucking manner imaginable. An actual death squad on a mission from God. The game does rescale the boss's health to compensate for the fact that there's 4 of you, but that just gives you more time to savour the pasting you're giving him. 4 down, 2 to go. Then Freddy. Then dinner. I'm bloody starving. Who was unfortunate enough to catch the remake a few years back? I waited for the DVD. And by DVD, I mean, of course, the internet DVD. You know, the discounted. I waited until it turned up on Pirate Bay. Alright, you happy? I don't buy anything on DVD on principle anymore, and I'll tell you why. Because I stick that unskippable anti-piracy shit at the start of every single one of them. You know the one. Dun 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 dun. You wouldn't steal a car. You wouldn't punch a horse. So why are you trying to fuck us in the arse? Why are you telling me? I've already bought the fucking thing, haven't I? Stop stealing! I haven't! Paid money for it. Stop accusing me of shit I haven't done. We can tell you're thinking about it. Don't ever steal one of our movies, because if you do, we can't make you sit through these 18 copyright warning screens in languages you don't understand. Like, Jesus Christ, you get that when you pay for your shopping at the tills? Dun 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 dun. Stop stealing bananas. I haven't stolen any fucking bananas. I'm literally about to. Don't you think you've been looking at that porridge long enough? Move along, brigand. Here we go then. Here's Freddy. One utter disappointment. Same as the other bosses. If he comes anywhere near you, chuck a shuriken at his face. His invincibility frames will phase you through him, and just rinse and repeat. If you stay in the middle, the claw hands won't spawn anywhere near you. Off he goes. Can't even be bothered to fight for his own life properly. Chuck his bones in the furnace, and there you go. That's your lot. At first I thought they were going to make me throw every single bone I'd collected in the game in there one by one, but thankfully it cuts away to some crappy ending text. So the evil is purged, fire purifies all, the bones are ashes, soon to be dust. Freddy, trademark symbol, stop stealing, is dead, and the nightmare is ended. Or has it? Jesus fucking Christ, or is it? Is it? It's right there in the previous bloody sentence. And there's Freddy ripped straight from that stupid ass poster for the second movie where some moron ballsed up the fact that he uses a glove instead of bag lady fingernails. Whoopee! Next week's Friday the 13th. See you there.